Roohif, the infamous troll.
Really? Alright, so this is a rather belated response to Ron Hagberg, who made a response to my video explaining why his lunar eclipse shadow was coming from the top down during the lunar eclipse of January 2018. I'll leave some links in the description if you have no idea what I'm talking about, and you can get yourself up to speed. Alright, so here's a screenshot of my video that Ron is playing in his response. So on the left here, you've got a guy sitting on the North Pole looking at the moon, and he's got the sun behind him. So the moon is orbiting around the Earth, and from this angle, it's going to be moving from right to left. So you'll see that when I press play, that as the moon moves into the shadow of the Earth, the observer at the North Pole will see the left-hand side of the moon going into the shadow first. Now, imagine you're on the celestial equator, like this guy. So you're kind of sideways, and because you're sideways, as the moon moves from right to left, you'll see the shadows start to appear from the top of the moon. Simple enough, but let's hear Ron get his dick stuck in the ceiling fan, trying to understand it.
Now you're saying, this is me on the equator, which is I'm not. Okay, and then the moon coming in. That would be moonrise if I was looking towards the moon and the moon was coming into the shadow like this. It would keep going this way. That would be moonrise. Say it with me, Roohif. Moonrise, not moonset.
Jesus titty fucking Christ, Ron. It's not that hard. Say it with me. Moonrise and moonset, just like sunrise and sunset, are caused by the rotation of the Earth, not by the movement of the sun and the moon. In fact, if you'd actually stuck with my video for about another 10 seconds, I went on to show you this. So on the left here, we're looking down on what you could call the North Pole of the moon. The Earth and the sun are off to the right over here, and you can see that most of the moon is lit up by the sun. But you can see just a little bit of the Earth's shadow starting to hit the moon. This red dot in the middle, when the moon moves to that point, it means that all three bodies, so the sun, moon, and Earth, are in perfect alignment, and that's called a syzygy. So when I hit play on this one, you'll see the moon move in its orbit, moving from top to bottom, and it's moving a little bit closer to that red dot. And you'll see the Earth's shadow covering more and more of the moon. On the right hand side though, it's exactly the same setup, but instead of being a stationary observer out in space, we're looking at it as an observer who's on the equator and he's rotating with the Earth, just like it says at the top here. So when I play this video, you'll see the moon head towards the horizon and start to set, just like it normally does. But you'll also see the moon getting closer to that red dot, just like in the video on the left. So both movements are happening at the same time. Right, so hopefully that made sense to Ron, but obviously with flurfers you can never be sure. Alright, so I did actually ask Mike Boll to try and explain this to Ron, but I don't think that's happened. So, as promised, I need to pick up where I left off in my last video to Mike and Ron and deal with Mike's absolute abomination of geometry. Alright, so Mike Boll has put out probably half a dozen videos dealing with angles to the sun and the moon, and ultimately he put forward Ron Hagberg's lunar eclipse observation as proof that the heliocentric model is broken. And for those of you that need a little backstory, Ron's observation is supposed to be an example of a selenelion, where the sun is visible at the same time as an eclipsed moon. Now this didn't quite happen with Ron's observation, but it was close enough that we can use it as an example of how it works. And if you didn't know already, it works because of refraction. Now most sources on the internet say that at the horizon, refraction will lift the sun and the moon by about half a degree each. Now neither Mike or myself have actually been out to verify this figure, but just for the sake of this discussion we've accepted that refraction is equal to about half a degree. Right, so let's go and watch Mike now get his dick stuck in a ceiling fan.
Okay then, let's draw it that way. And as you can see in the image below, the refracted moon is clearly eclipsing the refracted sun. And where is the true position of the sun and moon? Roohif says, below his horizon. Yep, that's what your model says, so let's draw that in. And wouldn't that allow a person beyond his horizon to also see the eclipsed sun at the same time?
Right, so Mike's theory is that if we move both the sun and the moon down half a degree, then they'll cast a shadow on a different part of the Earth. This obviously doesn't happen in reality, therefore refraction is wrong, Selenelians break the model, the Earth is flat, blah blah blah, you know the drill. But I'm sure most of you have spotted already that Mike didn't move both of them down half a degree each. He moved the moon down by this much, but only moved the sun down about half as much. If he wants to shift them by the same angle, then he needs to move the sun down to here. And that doesn't change where the shadow is. Alright, so Mike's response to that was, well, they both have the same angular size, so I move them both down by 1 diameter. And sure, if that's how you want to play it, then let's actually give them the same angular size, like that, and then shift them down by 1 diameter each. And that still doesn't change where the shadow is. So unfortunately, Mike's entire series, which he's put a lot of effort into, has been for nothing, purely because of atrocious geometry. It would be great if flurfers weren't so terrible at math, but I guess that's half the reason they're flurfers to begin with. Flat earthers that are good at math just do not exist.